about, and you must be about to complete your tasks. If not, you have time, you can always complete it. I've extended the time for another 5 days. Although the course is supposed to be over by 15th of May, and today is the last meeting, but I have given 5 more days for you to complete your course, if it is in progress. So I welcome all of you today, as I'm sure all of you are ready with your presentations. Are you excited?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, ma'am. We are looking forward to it. Yes, ma'am.
Good. So am I. I'm also looking forward to each one of you presenting. So I think there are some people, I would just say it right in the beginning, there are some people who are busy, but they have been very kind enough to send their recordings. So in between, there will be a few recorded presentations that we shall play as we proceed further. So without anyone is having any query, anything you want to ask? Once again, I welcome each one of you to the session, and let's begin with the presentations. Is Rosie there?
Yes.
Yeah, Rosie, are you ready with your presentation?
All right.
So let's begin with Rosie. Let's see what she has learned all these 4 weeks and how she has designed her course. So Rosie, you may share your screen and you can start presenting.
Yes, just a second.
Hello, how are you? Hello, yeah,
Hello.
Please
yeah.
have it.
Am I visible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. Good afternoon from India side. I feel good evening in Australia, so it varies. So all good wishes to all. Myself, I'm Rosie Marwa, teaching students of classes 6 to 12 at St. Mark's School, Delhi, India. And I came across this 4-week course on designing an adaptable course through Facebook and was excited to join it, as I feel having a flexible course during present day uncertainties is the need of the hour. After having attended this course, I'm here to present my learnings presentation. And before I proceed further, I'm really thankful to Poonam ma'am for giving such a wonderful course, widening my thought process, handling my lessons in a most flexible way. So here I come across, here I have prepared, designed my course. For class 7th, I teach science and nutrition. As I'm nutritionist, I did my master's. So this presentation is for grade 7 science. And the topic which I chose today is components of food. Food is the basic necessity of life. And when we talk of food, definitely we talk about various nutrients, various food groups, balanced diet, imbalanced diet. So we talk all various aspects of this. So when I have to teach this lesson, definitely I have to keep, certain objectives, learning objectives in mind. And these objective states, students will list all the essential nutrients present in food and their importance. They would identify nutrients and to classify them on the basis of their role in the body. Definitely, they need to learn to test also. So that's a big objective, to test a given food sample for the presence of sugar, starch, and protein in them. experimentation, to analyze the adverse effects of excessive intake of carbohydrates, fats, and junk food, recognizing problems related malnutrition and overnutrition, lifestyle diseases, etc., to describe and create a balanced diet. So these are few listed learning objectives. Now, to fulfill those, definitely certain aids to be used, as it's an integrated curriculum, designing a syllabus. So that includes offline class as well as online class. So in offline classes, the aids that can be helpful to make it, more interesting for the students. Visit to food technology lab for experimentation. Our school has this lab. Midday meal to recognize the nutrients that, the food that they are carrying and having it during midday. Food samples are being asked to, to be collected as a part of their activity from home, and they would be carrying it to the school in the class. Certain charts to be prepared, placards to be used in between, model and students are going to involve them in making 3D models and helping each other as a part of teamwork also. And online classes, definitely the online classes in our school is carried out on MS Teams, where PowerPoint presentations, these presentations can be used during offline class also. So that's a wonderful integration. And definitely reading from the textbooks and food samples again. They are asked to collect it beforehand, and they are going to share it by opening their cameras and playing it in a form of activity too, as a fun game. And of course, visit to virtual lab. There's a good provision of virtual lab where they enjoy seeing all these experimentation. So the best part is whatever they have made in the class, the material students have made in the class can easily be used during online classes also. And whatever they have been using in online definitely can be a part of our offline class also. So that makes it more interesting, flexible, and no one is missing out on anything as such. Now, for this formative assessment for offline classes, definitely it can be done through experimentation. They learn to experiment, observe, and conclude on that basis. Of course, information gathering is done and deducing certain, presentations on experiments. Investigations, whatever the problem solving is there for stated problems. MCQs, science quiz, puzzles, simple and interesting assignments, group assignments, projects as model making, of course, using their scientific principles and having their critical thinking. In online class, we have been testing, because during COVID, we all had online classes for 2 years. That was a learning experience for each one of us. So the formative assessment was done on online quizzes as Kahoot. Again, problem solving assessments were there. Various new variety of game type puzzles activities were there. Peer evaluation and reviews were there. Question answers on forms. The paper was uploaded on forms, and it was in MCQ form, as well as open-ended questions were also there, which were assessed on forms. Similarly, diagram drawing, labeling, and describing the functions, all those were a part of FAs on online classes. Now we come back to summative assessment. Uploading work and projects on Teams, that is through forms. Short and long time open-ended questions. Midterm exams, that includes pen paper, that we have been doing it. So that's a combination of offline as well as online on Teams. Then tests are given at the end of each of the project also. Variety of teaching methods were also used, like sometimes the lecture method with demonstration methods, experimentation. Students are divided in groups. They are, conducting experiments. They are testing each other and evaluating each other's work also. So one group leader is made. That's a student-centered activity method. Learning by doing, that's the best. The more you do, the more you learn. And of course, through PPTs, discussions, sometime, dramatization also through the students. Problem solving, again, that's, very, very important part when we are teaching science. Learning activities which were used during these classes, model making. And of course, poster and brochure making was done. Students, although I have already conducted this, that is why I could, prepare all these points. Students, they prepared beautiful posters and brochures, and they created awareness. They went around various classes explaining and showing and sharing their brochures and distributing and creating awareness among other class students also. The same way, dramatization, preparing a diet chart, listing down their daily food, what they have been having during lunch, breakfast, dinner, and then critically, evaluating it. And then talking about the healthy diet that can be taken. So preparing a diet chart, keeping calories in mind. Experimentally based, again, testing the presence of starch, sugar. They enjoyed seeing variety of colors and recognizing whether various food items that they are having, are they containing sugar or starch in them. Then application-based activity that they enjoyed the most. Whatever space they had, they tried growing some plants, kitchen garden, few herbs were grown, and they shared the pics when they, had a good plants being grown, and they brought some small pots also in the class activity also. So that was it. And I hope you liked that presentation. That was all about which I've been learning through the course shared by Poonam ma'am. And actually, I could experience the flexibility during this course. The students who were absent in face-to-face classes, because the recording is being done. So when they were unwell, they had an access to see these recordings once again. And in a way, they are not, losing out anything on any content, whether they were present or they could not be present, but they could see the recordings and they had their learning class easily. So by attending this course, ma'am, I have really learned various new ideas for active learning by the students also. Specifically, I liked the concept of beginning with the end. We begin with something which we call it as an end. So that is something which I really like, and creating a mix map of both offline, online, all the kinds of aids that is being used. And genuinely, I have already tested in my day-to-day class. Like today was our last working day with the students, and it was a wonderful, experience they had during the last few weeks. Even they enjoyed a lot. So thank you, ma'am, so much, and looking forward to have many more such courses. Thanks, Sita.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas. I would just like to ask one small thing. Was there any challenge doing this blended course?
Just a kind of, not a big challenge, but yes, sometimes when we are having online class and few students, they are not, unmuting, or they're not opening their cameras simply by saying, ma'am, camera is not working. So
they're the lame excuses they make.
Yeah, these are the lame excuses. So the moment you request them, kindly, I would love to see you. I would love to, have a face-to-face interaction. Sorry, ma'am. Or sometimes they simply, type it out. Mic is not working. So those were the few small challenges. Yeah. Remaining, those who were interested, they had a lovely time. Yeah.
Good. It was a very good experience when you shared every aspect of your blended course. I think we move on to the next. There are a number of people who are waiting for their turn. Okay, there is one question. What about the individual differences? Yeah, we'll take it later on. We'll definitely take it later on. Let's go on to the next participant. It's Radhika, but Radhika has been very busy. She's a consultant. She has sent very kindly sent her recorded presentation. So let's play that.
Good evening, everyone.
Just bear for a minute. I think some technical glitch. Sometimes it happens that there are some technical glitches. Hope we'll overcome it soon. Let's restart.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Radhika. I am a management consultant, and as part of my role, I am required to engage with both internal as well as external stakeholders and clients to help assess and resolve difficult client situations and problems. A key task at hand was to help streamline and uplift case study assessment process to uplift the ongoing assessment for lateral hires. I was required to pull together a training material and a workshop so I could train others within the organization to start developing material to build new case studies. Before I undertook that assignment, I went through Poonam Bora's 4-week course in how best to tailor my practices to meet the various stakeholders' needs and requirements when it came to their learning techniques, when it came to providing feedback, when it came to assessing their understanding of what sort of training was provided, and obviously all those different techniques to tailor my messaging and communications to different types of stakeholders. So I've taken all of those learnings and incorporated that in my one slider that I pulled together for the case study revamp training program. The program is split across 6 steps. Step 1 is basically to identify the gaps in the current case studies. So the current case studies are quite outdated. They are old, the data is old. There are also some concerns that some of these case studies might be readily available in the market, compromising the quality of our assessment. So at the back of that case study gap analysis, the next step is to engage with the leadership team virtually to go through an early and ongoing engagement to get them on board to uplift this case study and derive the value that this will have on our ongoing recruitment process. Once the right level of leadership team is engaged, the next step here is to identify the various segments. So by segments, we mean the specific grades in terms of the levels at which we are looking to recruit individuals, which will then define the complexity or the difficulty of the case studies, which will also then define who needs to be engaged in the case study workshops. In order to identify the right segment, we also need to identify who the specialists would be to guide and to develop these case studies as per the template that has been developed to provide at the end of this training course. Once those specialists have been identified, through this virtual training course, I will then provide them an opportunity to take those templates away and in their own time, review and validate these templates against the new case study requirements and start developing a case study, which will then be reviewed by the leadership team, and feedback will be provided via targeted comments on the developed case study material in a PowerPoint form. Once that case study feedback has been incorporated in all of those PowerPoints, those case study materials will then be PDF'd and they will be ready for use and published. Once those case studies are published, we are looking at uplifting the entire evaluation process for incoming candidates. Now, The overall time frame for this process is across 3 months. And this process needs to occur through various workshops, engaging different stakeholders across various levels of seniority, whether it's a senior leadership level, whether it's a level 1 leadership, or whether it's a junior staff member. So the next steps in this revamp training session will be to start developing targeted paths to engage all of those stakeholders through online workshops, and start creating all of those specific templates which they can use to provide their feedback on. The course has provided me with a lot of context and a lot of examples to take away and start developing those targeted material that can then be used to engage all of those different stakeholders and start developing those case materials.
Yeah, thank you, Radhika. I was thinking whether it will be applicable for training purposes, but truly Radhika has proved that the course that is being delivered was very well taken, even by the consultants, even by the trainers for their workshop purposes. Any questions? You can write it in the chat box. We'll get back to you later on, because there are other participants too waiting. Next is, who's next? Sita, are you ready, Sita?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so let's begin with your presentation.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Could you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for this
Sorry to interrupt. Please introduce yourself and then begin with your presentation.
Okay, so I'm Sita Shah-Roth. I use the learning within this course to create this course for a post-secondary school target students. This is a course that I would have to start by the end of the month. And even though I have taught this course before, I've never used the concepts, the context within this course to actually design this course outline and the content delivery aspect of the course. So I've used my learning within this course to produce this course. It's a blended course. It has synchronous sessions using the Zoom and physical classroom and physical field trips. I also have a synchronous sessions within this course where I use a Google Classroom and a Moodle platform. And the formats for presentations, discussions, and engaging of students in different activities are lectures, discussion boards, case study analysis, essays, PowerPoint presentations, problem solving, team projects, word games, and quizzes. The objectives for this course is, the main objective is to facilitate the learners to understand basic principles and practices of different types of research designs, to critically analyze and evaluate case studies and apply their learning to real-world research topics. But the specific objectives are, at the end of this course, students would be expected to understand the basic principles of different research designs, to memorize best practices in gathering primary and secondary data, to apply appropriate writing standards, APA and MLA. My preference is for APA, but I would not, because it's a flexible course, I will not confine them to APA. I will open it up to MLA if they so desire. Another objective is they learn how to avoid plagiarism in their writing assignments, and to critically analyze and evaluate research journal articles and research reports to apply their learning to individual research projects, and to collaborate in teams and present their research projects. I did the concept map to guide my course design, where I follow the guidelines given in this course. But I will go to the lesson, the first lesson, because I have the online, the synchronous, and the asynchronous, the key concepts, the face-to-face sessions, as well as the audio sessions. So I have recorded videos within the classroom, the Google Classroom, and on Moodle. So they give that is another flexibility. And they have to reinforce the concepts, there are real-world examples, case studies, and demonstrations. And then their follow-up and critique, such as the essays and the quizzes and the PowerPoint presentations. For the first lesson, this is actually a pre-course activity. The objective is to share course expectations. So there is within the Google Classroom and on the Moodle platform, a welcome to introduction to research. I haven't put it up as yet. I still have to record these sessions and edit them and put them up. The first video is welcome to introduction to research, or welcome to the course introduction to research. And as I said, this is assignment 0. The instructions to students who would hopefully log in before the course starts. Check general resources folder for course navigation guides. After viewing the video, welcome to introduction to research, do the following. I can't do that. I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to see. I could try it. Is that okay? I cannot see you anymore.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, well, I could no longer see anybody, so I'm just going to go with my presentation.
We can see you, don't worry.
Okay, so the duration for the course, it started from the top again. It's 16 weeks. And as I said, it's a blended course with synchronous, asynchronous sessions. And the formats are lectures, discussion boards, case study analysis, essay, PowerPoint presentations, problem solving, team projects. And the objectives, I have a main objective and I have specific objectives, as I explained earlier. And I did the course map and the pre-course activity. So they will use a discussion board to introduce themselves to the instructor and class by creating their own discussion topics under your instructor's introduction in the threaded discussion format. I find that there sometimes is a bit of confusion as to how they should share their introduction. So that is why I give such clear guidelines. And so during their introduction, they could welcome classmates and share their background if they so choose, and prepare to share their course expectations with the class members during our first session, our first synchronous session, which would be activity 1. And the objectives for this activity 1 session is to understand the basic principles of different research designs and apply appropriate writing standards, APA and MLA. So I have the video. I will have the video in the Moodle and the Google Classroom, Introduction to Research, Lesson 1. And they will be required to do the following to explain what they understand by the word research. This is the assignment. Include at least 2 types of research designs that the student may want to learn about. Write a 250 to 500 word response using APA writing style as shown in the APA manual, which I will have in the resource guides. And I am hoping they will be prepared to share their ideas and discuss with class members during our synchronous sessions. And that they will have the opportunity to select a team during our breakout sessions. I will create different rooms using the Zoom because the sessions are in Zoom on the Zoom platform. And they will have the opportunity to decide on which team they want to join or who they want to be within their team, etc. For activity 2, the objective is to memorize best practices in gathering primary and secondary data. And of course, I will have a lesson in video. And after viewing the lecture, they will be required to do as listed here, listen, describe 2 or more of the first steps in research design, use a proposed topic on which to base their choices, and show how they will apply at least one primary source with several secondary sources. And they're required to do a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation. And in the resources, I have put guidelines, and I will use a video to demonstrate the sample response sheet that I will already have in the resource folder listed under resources for activity 2. I'm hoping they will be prepared to discuss their ideas with class members during our synchronous Zoom class, because this entire platform will be in the Google Classroom and on the Moodle platform so that they could work ahead of the synchronous sessions. And during this second lesson and second synchronous session, they will have the opportunity to create their team charters during our breakout sessions. And they will check the sample charters that I will have in lesson 2 resources folder. And the objective of activity 3 or session 3, synchronous session 3, is for them, the students, to memorize best practices in gathering primary and secondary data. Again, they will be required to write, after viewing the video, write an interview research schedule for gathering primary data as indicated in their assignment 2. This is the previous session and the previous lesson, and they will have to follow the guidelines as shown in the video and demonstrated in the sample response sheet found in the resources folder listed under resources for activity 3. I'm hoping they will remember to plan to attend the field trip as published in the pre-course activities, pre-course information, and navigation of the course. And the trip will be planned for the 17th of June, 2022, of course, and they will have the opportunity to sample the interview schedule during the field trip. And this will be a physical presence field trip, not a virtual field trip, although virtual field trips will be planned for later in the course. As I said, this is a 16-week course. Details of the trip will be discussed during our synchronous session, and they will use the discussion board to develop possible choices for their field trip. And they will prepare to discuss their ideas, issues with the class members and instructor during our synchronous Zoom class. And they will have the opportunity to share and discuss their team charters that they would have prepared over the previous week. And of course, the team samples of team charters are in the resources folder, or will be in the resources folder. The objective of session 4 is for students to memorize best practices and gathering primary and secondary data. After viewing the video introduction to research lesson 4, they will be required to finalize the observation notes they made during the field trip of last Friday. This would have been the field trip that would have been done the previous Friday to this Monday class. And they would have had to write up the interview responses that they received when they sampled their interview schedule during the field trip. And if they couldn't remember to do that, how to do that, the resources within the lesson resources guides demonstrate, provide guides. And so they will be able to prepare to share their observations and discuss with class members during our synchronous Zoom class session on the following Monday. Similar lessons will be developed for the entire 16 weeks. 1 minute, I'm not finished. It's the slide is stuck. Okay. During synchronous Zoom sessions, activities will include, but are not limited to, students will share one significant highlight of their work with explanation as to reasons for their choices. Students will ask questions that they wish answered to regarding feedback on their work. Sentence prompts will be given as discussion points for students to apply their learning and experiences. Teams will present their projects conference style in a student-led and organized activity. That is a student-organized activity. And teams will peer review another team's presentation during our synchronous classes using the given rubric that will be in the resources folders. This is a sample of an engaging assessment activity where students will be required to create a crossword puzzle, decide on 8 terms that can be used in developing a research project, write a clue or a short description for each term without using the actual term, create a basic 8-word crossword that fits each term as answers, and a possible sample of how the crossword should look is attached, and I will put several samples and on with the online link for them to access. SWOT analysis for students to test their learning in week 7. After learners have presented their research proposals, because they will present their proposals in week 6 and have benefited from peer and instructor reviews during the research proposal presentation and the week following, they will use a SWOT analysis to identify their individual areas of strengths and weaknesses relating to what they have learned, what areas they feel they need to work on, and how they intend to build on their weaknesses. Further, they will also create a plan for improvement on their perceived weak areas. I will prepare a toolkit, and I've put the basic guidelines that I will use to do that. In the Google Drive, I will put the case studies, the journal articles, and the textbooks. The strategies used for this would be sharing resources, interacting with content, and it will be clearly learner-centered because the students will have the choice as to whether or not to actually interact with the resources that are in the Google Drive. And for the Moodle downloads, I would have a model APA research paper and short paper, long paper, and the APA manual, a PDF of the APA manual, 7th edition, will be in the Moodle downloads and other related materials. And the strategies for this will be for students, again, to interact with the content and apply to their assignments, all learner-centered. In the Google Classroom resources page, there would be videos, handouts, rubrics, and the strategies for that would be for the students to interact with the content, collaborate in discussion board, share their resources, their personal resources or resources that they were able to acquire online. At the same time, at the very beginning of the course, I will teach students on plagiarism, on the use of materials to ensure that they give credit to the sources and how reasons and means of how to avoid plagiarism. They will submit their assignments, receive feedback, another learner instructor interactions in the Google Classroom. Self-monitoring, students will keep a reflective journal that they will make a weekly additions to mentor their continuous learning. And I would use one of our synchronous sessions to explain students how to do this reflective journal. But in actuality, at the end of each week, I will let the students write a very short reflection on their learning for the week that has just passed. They will include their thoughts on how they can or intend to improve their performances. They will assess their journal using a rubric with clearly defined learning goals and their own systems of monitoring their personal learning. Students will have the option to create a fortnightly blog to manage self-assessment based on reflective activities, and they will also have the option to share in their teams, in their team rooms, or in the different ways that they choose to connect, to communicate within their own teams, because that is also flexible, and during the entire synchronous Zoom sessions or during face-to-face class sessions. For formative and summative assessment, short research proposal to be presented for peer and instructor feedback, and this will be done for continuous assessment by the instructor and for peer review too. They will submit as a summative assessment in week 6. So after week 6, they can't make any more changes. The formative, that will be the summative assessment at the end, is a long research paper that combines all their learning in this research course, and they will be continuous assessment. They will submit this as a summative assessment in week 12. I will give them until week 15, but they could start submitting from week 12. And so as it's a continuous assessment, they will have the opportunity to fix and refix and overfix by week 15. And the final summative assessment will be a capstone project, a portfolio containing all their significant work with accompanying instructor feedback, handouts, and other resources that the student chooses to include. And this is a rubric for the self-assessment, where I have put the different stages of learning using the 5-point system, where we will look at the theoretical understanding, the evidence of research, examples of them that demonstrate their understanding of concepts, applied concepts to real-world situation, and of course, ever present is their self-monitoring on their own grammar, use of APA, and using best practices in terms of essay format. And of course, they could assign themselves points. And this is the same grading rubric that I will use for their final summative assessment. And this is the presentation of the course that I have designed using my learning from this course.
Thank you, Sita. It was a wonderful course designed by you. Each aspect is worth appreciating. I think it is a totally learner-centered design that you have created. And the best part is that you have included the toolkit, you have included the rubric, and you have included every possible aspect that must be there in a blended course. So congratulations to you. And I would also like to share one more thing about Sita. She's been getting up at 4 a.m. in the morning to attend these classes. That truly shows her dedication towards the course design and towards the learning aspect. Thank you so much, Sita. It was wonderful communicating with you. It was wonderful associating with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, Sita. How are you?
I am okay. Thank you.
Okay. There is one suggestion and one question. The suggestion is that although it's only a name change, but it is a better representation nowadays we use. Instead of SWOT, SWOT, where T stands for threat, Nowadays, we call it SWOC, SWOC, where C stands for challenge. So
Okay.
you may like to consider it. Now, the
Yes,
question
yes,
is that I noted that you have used Google Classroom, you have used Moodle. Means what was the special logic in going for two LMS where, one LMS could have served the purpose. Whatever you do in Moodle is much better, means a higher kind of LMS than Google Classroom. So means instead of making it as a double workload for you, was there any special? I wanted to know your logic in
okay,
choosing.
let me explain. Let me explain. So this is a flexible lesson, right? And from my experience for other courses, what I noticed about two reasons, actually. Let me go for the first one. The official platform is Moodle. So for the institution, for monitoring of the course, Moodle is there, right? But what I found is Moodle is not as user-friendly. It's not as learner-friendly as a Google Classroom. And in the Google Classroom, we don't have persons who could see our work. So it's like a one-to-one, student to student, learner to learner, instructor to learner. And we are all there. It's like our private classroom. So actually, even though the one that is reviewed by the institution would be Moodle, and when they're finished, we're finished arguing and fixing and revising and continuous improvement within our Google Classroom platform, they could go post their assignments in the Moodle. In the Moodle, you will have the supervisor, the HOD, and everybody seeing that. So that is it. And also there's a challenge in Moodle for these students, because I guess the extra anxiety in that they are not free, they're not flexible to do as they please, as they are in the Google Classroom. So that is the basic reason. And it's more user-friendly. They don't get, that's it. I will go on and on. So let me stop.
It's okay. It's okay. I agree with that. Are you based in Guyana right now, or where?
I am currently in Montana, but all my classes I'm teaching in Guyana, both face-to-face and virtual. At the moment, it's virtual. From in another month, it will be both. I will be there physically.
I was
yeah.
director at UG. My office was in Queen's College compound in 2000.
2010.
Yes.
2010, you were there. I am not going to mention this. Sorry, this is the wrong platform for us to do. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
Okay.
think let's move on to the next participant. Who's there next? Jyoti. Jyoti, are you ready?
Jyoti is always ready.
Yes, yes, yes.
Great, good, good, good. So let's listen to Jyoti. Yeah, please be in the presentation mode. Introduce yourself and you can start presenting.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jyoti Bhavani from India. I actually don't teach at a school level. I'm more as an educator. So I've generally been researching more about teachers. How do they teach in the classroom? What are the challenges they face in the classroom? And while doing this course, a particular topic that was very close to my heart and which really I thought I should pursue is how do you engage learners in an online environment. So this is basically something like a workshop which I presume to be maybe for 4 weeks, a short-term kind of a workshop or course for teachers. The objectives of this particular course would generally be to understand the theoretical and psychological underpinnings of online environment, because I think first of all we need to understand how children are generally involved in such kind of environment. What is a mental setup? What is the attention span? What are the theories behind teaching or also engaging learners in online environments? And also then it comes to the tools part. How do you analyze and identify online strategies that keep learners engaged in an online learning classroom setup, and other is to elicit the expected learning outcomes, because sometimes I think we need not to get too ambitious. I think we really need to define what is the optimum kind of a learning that you can expect from children when they're engaging in online environment. And last is how to apply and evaluate the actual learning outcomes derived from the learners after completion of a selected online activity. Now, this evaluation could be by the teacher himself from his own or her self-reflection, or it could also be in terms of the outcomes that is derived from the learners. The next. So the course outcomes, I'm also seeing in terms of objectives. So what actually outcome am I expecting from this kind of a platform is first objective. And these are related to the objectives. In relation to the objective one, I would expect the learners, that is the teachers, to understand and explain the theoretical and psychological principles that are relevant and can be applied or need to be considered for facilitating learning in online environments. In relation to the objective two, will the teacher be able to identify the different tools or activities that assist in keeping the learners engaged in an online environment, especially keeping in view the age of the learner, the subject the teacher is likely to teach, and the context from which a child comes from, that is, the learners come from. The third objective, will the teacher be able to define the outcomes expected from each activity, and is basically what activity leads to what kind of outcome. Does it lead to something like to understand, apply concepts, or maybe demonstrate? These are, as ma'am had already given us a chart on the Bloom's taxonomy, keeping that in view. And last objective is the learners, that is the teachers, will be able to conduct self-assessment of in their class to evaluate their own performance. So this is the outcomes of this particular course. Coming to the technologies that which I intend to use in this platform is, of course, for the synchronous interaction with the teachers, it is going to be a Google Meet or a Zoom, whatever is available. But since there has to be a common platform or a standard platform to have the teachers access to the content, for which I will use a Google Classroom, where the content of the whole course. And another thing what I intend to do here is the course will not be presented in terms of a content, rather in terms of scenarios where situations will be explained, and how a teacher if a teacher has to resolve that particular conflict or a situation, how would she or he go about, for which text materials, YouTube's, other resources, both maybe the podcast in terms of audio, videos, and the text material be presented in the Google content, where there will be a like something like learning materials or reading materials for the teachers. Apart from that, short stimulants basically to set a teacher thinking, it's something to spark some kind of a debate or a discussion within the group. Short videos followed by discussion, online quizzes, or group work could be used. Apart from then, is the content done, as I said, is a Google Classroom. But apart from that, because I've noticed Google Classroom does not felicitate much of an interaction, or it doesn't motivate students to learn, because it's from one of my experience. They don't visit often a Google Classroom to look at the content. So before this, when I had actually taught an online course, I realized if you use a social media platform, the presence of a learner is more explicit in a social media than in a Google Classroom. So I would also prefer to use an alternative platform apart from the Google Classroom. That's where the social media, to keep them engaged and participating. It's basically because if there are questions or if there are queries, they can raise in the social media, which I actually found that they don't seem to appear in a Google Classroom, but they appear faster in a social media platform. And other thing, technology, what I would like to, since they are teachers, I would encourage them to develop their own portfolios, basically their background, maybe something to keep their progress intact. And also another site where they will develop resources and upload them so that this could be accessible to all the other teachers in the course. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. Now coming up to the assessment. Now by and large, I have divided the assessment as formative, summative, and an alternative assessment. Formative basically will take place, especially when there is an asynchronous meeting. That is, since there are 4 objectives, assume there are going to be 4 weeks. So there's going to be 1 day in a week where there is going to be a face-to-face, not exactly face-to-face, an online synchronous interaction with the group of learners, and wherein opportunities would be given for the learners to take up a quiz, okay, on various learning theories. That is with respect to objective 1, that is the week 1, and psychological process or development stages of a child. Objective 2, where I would rather, since it's tools and there are umpteen number of tools on the internet, although I would be sharing a couple of tools, I also believe that the learners today, in fact, the teachers are also aware of the tools. So this is a platform or a time also to exchange resources with one another. So it's basically give some task and ask them to explore what kind of tools they can use to engage learners. So it's more going to be also be like a pooling exercise. Maybe divide them into groups and so that they can identify the tools they would use. The third would also, the third week would be wherein a case study would be provided, where you give them a content or a choice based, whatever, based on the background of a teacher, that is a subject she teaches, and the age of the children she generally teaches, to identify or create activities to derive the expected learning outcome. And the objective 4 would be, since it's going to be more about self-evaluation, that's going to be a reflection, a point where the teachers will be given opportunity to reflect and demonstrate how to also conduct the assessment. Coming to summative assessment, this actually, this is something which will simultaneously happen at the end of the week, not necessarily during the interaction, but this actually, in fact, the formative assessments would not be known to the learners during the course. They will only know on the day of interaction, whereas the summative assessment will already be present. So it's done more on an asynchronous mode. It happens along by during the course. So when, since I said objective 1, the week 1 is going to be more of developing a theoretical and a conceptual framework. So I would, rather than having a pencil, a written test, I would prefer them to develop concept map or a mind map. So there also I would see that choices are given for them to choose whatever concept they want to do, they want to develop upon, and prepare a mind map, and that would be submitted maybe at the end of the course, not during the end of the week. Objective 2 will develop flowchart on the different kinds of tools. Basically, if you want this kind of an outcome, what kind of tools are the alternative tools? It's something like a flowchart a teacher could develop. And the third would be is to define learning outcomes in terms of creating tool. Independently is different, but if you have to really refine the use of a tool or ensure that the tool is used effectively, it has to be put in the form of an activity, maybe in terms of instructions, a timeline. So I would ask them to develop activities for practice in the classroom, also keeping in view the pragmatic realities of a classroom. And last one is assignment, was adopt the given activity to assess the actual learning outcome, whether the teacher would like to use a self-reflection, quizzes, or observation of learners in the classroom. Now, we all know that online activity, although it seems to be feasible, it actually is not feasible for teachers, because due to the kind of tasks they are generally involved in, because teachers are not only involved in teaching, but also refers to the other kind of duties that generally expect to be involved in the classroom. So, but we can't, assure, one doesn't get assured that if a teacher is enrolled for a course, she can really give maximum time for the course. So for keeping that in view, I think that alternative even assessment platforms needs to be arranged, so that the motivation of a teacher is sustained, and they also ensure that they try to complete the course at times. For formative assessment, though, all I have mentioned, if you see, I mentioned that formative is going to take place mostly during the interaction, that is a synchronous interaction that will take place once a week. But in case teachers are absent, I would also give them an alternate asynchronous mode. Like if I do an online quiz in the interactive session, if a teacher is absent, how do she take up the same quiz? Maybe I will prepare an alternative Google form and keep it accessible in the social media, so that if a teacher missed out a session, she can always attempt the same quiz through a Google form, which is accessible. Even provide them self-assessment tools to evaluate their own performance. Since other more what that alternative assessment is, those who have not attended the sessions, maybe give them an opportunity, maybe even to have some kind of a peer assessment. They, assess each other, whoever have been absent, so that they could help or support each other, and keep the synchronous activities available on social media to enable those absent to access. Okay. Coming on to the summative assessment, it's mind map, because when I have given activities like prepare a mind map or a concept map, and most of you are aware that there are tools, apps available to prepare these kind of structures, mental structures. But in case a teacher is not comfortable with such a kind of an app, I would also give them an option that you can draw it on a piece of paper, map, maybe put it on a 2-dimensional paper, and then upload the picture, the photo of that particular mind map. So this is basically to keep based on the the potential of the teacher. Another one is to provide more than one assignment. I would prefer to give assignments when I give assessments, summative assessments, to give more than one assignment. If this is not convenient, you have another choice, permitting them to choose according to their interests and abilities. For example, if they do not have access to a classroom, ask, like for example, if a teacher who has enrolled for the course is not a teacher, so I would ask them maybe to do a documentary kind of task, review the literature on the internet and submit an assignment, rather than based on their practical experiences. By and large, my whole objective for this particular course, like if I want to ensure that the learning activities that I'm trying to use in this course effectively engages my learners, and this is something I would also tell the learners, that if whatever kind of activity you intend to use in the classroom, or even if I want to use in my course, I will ensure that the activities are relevant to the learner. That is one. Second is that the learner is able to relate that to his or her context. That is one. Second. And the third is it possible for the learner to reflect? For instance, even if I complete the course, I would like to reflect after every session. How did the session go? What were the drawbacks of the session? How do I make up with those drawbacks? So this is generally the principles of engagement during as an instructor and also as a learner. Coming to the activities, as I said, life experiences, I said they have to relate to their lives. For example, I could say, how would you address the challenge of absenteeism in your classroom if it is an online class? Share success stories of overcoming challenges. It's basically where it also gives opportunities for a learner to reflect upon and give, and it also is like a learning experience to one another also. And then I will also ensure that it's basically somewhere we need to relate, use a lot of visuals, games, videos, podcasts, depending on the comfort of the learner, to ensure that they have a variety of learning experiences. And the third, very important is group activities. I think it's very important for learners to engage in group activities, because that also helps them to, keep up in pace in case they're behind. Others set goals. I think since it's a 4 objective course, I will make sure for every objective there is a goal set up and record. And as I said, I would ask teachers to develop their e-portfolios, which would also help them to record their own progress. And there should also be a constant feedback mechanism, which maybe I would use a social media platform, and then provide. And the last one is, I think is very important, is provide opportunities to create resources, especially if you prepare a tool or a game. I would suggest my learners to upload it on a drive or on a special link where it is accessible to all the learners in the group, because ultimately I think we learn more by sharing also. And that's something I think is very important for teachers also. I think that's the end of my slide. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. It was wonderful listening to you. And we always learn from each other. The points that you have shared are really worth noting. And we shall definitely be in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Next is Tanvi. She's going to present now. Tanvi, please share your screen.
Hi, ma'am. Can you please, I sent you my presentation. Can you please share it at your end?
Now let me try. Yeah, I think it's there.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so this is teaching English. Sorry, give me a second. Yep. Hi, everyone. Punamura, thank you so much for this opportunity for learning all this from you. This has been an absolute pleasure. So about me, my name's Tanvi. I teach English. I'm not a teacher, so I provide courses to people who don't have who are not native English speakers, and they need some help, although they are professionals and they have their jobs to do, but they sometimes need help to form their sentences or to ensure that they are conveying the right message. So generally I conduct these sessions either face-to-face or via Zoom. I'm not on any LMS session or any LMS system, so that's why it's a little different for me. But it was really great to learn the challenges and how I'm going to do it once I'm on LMS like other people. So going on. Yeah, so again, overview, my name's Tanvi. Again, it's a self-run session and it's called Let's Pick Up the Pace. It's a 12-week long course, and so far my learners have included professionals like accountants and lawyers who have difficulty in expressing their views in a very concise manner. Although there's nowhere to say that their English is incorrect, but it's just not concise and they feel it's not professional enough. So that's why I conduct these sessions. Yeah. So the learning objectives of these sessions is to speak effectively and to write English effectively in their day-to-day jobs, and to apply concepts of English grammar while they're writing an email or they're writing a report. Although this seems like very generic and basic, but this is the most concerning part for them. This is where they struggle the most. And including this, another part is sentence formation to deliver a clear message. Sometimes they get so intertwined in their thoughts that they are not able to form a single sentence properly. So sentence formation is one of their main challenges. And also with all the pressure of professional world, sometimes they let go a lot of grammatical rules, or they make a lot of grammatical errors, which is not really good when they are presenting out to clients or to people, and it just has a bad impact or a bad reputation for them. So I followed the format that I received in the email, although I have not been that active in the course, but I've always went back and listened to all the lectures that were provided. And I could say that it's not 100% applicable to me, but this is something what I want to do in the future. So as per everything that we have learned, my teaching is mostly synchronous in person and online synchronous. We don't have an online asynchronous. So all the assessments that we do, so for synchronous in person, the formative assessments. So how it's done, we give out worksheets which are needed to be completed either before the session, or there's a particular time allotted to them where they'll complete it during the session, and then we'll discuss it. These worksheets, they could be complete the incomplete format, or select the correct form of tenses format, or write essays or paragraphs. The same sort of worksheets is uploaded online, or they're sent out to their emails, where they can do it either prior to the session and then learn what mistakes they made in while completing the worksheets, or they can do it after the session. Yeah. We don't have any summative assessment. It's a 12-week long course, and at the end of it, they don't get a certificate, or they don't get a completion certificate or any course, because it's to enhance their skills and to learn how to better interact with people in their workplace. So it's basically a training session. But I think listening to Ms. Poonam, I feel like a completion certificate would be a good idea. So sorry for the background noises, guys. For the alternative assessments, we generally, for the face-to-face discussions, we go with the reflective piece, where I'm asked them to reread their emails that they have sent during the weeks, or the reports they have created, and then either they identify the errors, or I help them to identify the errors. And a similar sort of exercise is critical analysis, where a research paper is given to them which is outside of their field. So let's say for the lawyers which work in the IT law, I'll give them some papers which is in the mining field, so that they get to learn the things which is outside their comfort zone, terminologies and phases and respective things for them to learn. This is when it's done face to face. When it's done in online form, we'll do it over Zoom. And again, we'll be sharing screens and reading the emails what they have sent, and again identifying errors or any places of improvement. So this would be done either they raise their hand and they say this is what they think is wrong in this email, or it's done in breakout rooms, or mostly chats. So it started with chats, and then they started getting a bit more comfortable when they start speaking out, and then eventually we decide to go into breakout rooms and then work on things, and then come back and discuss it with the team. And similar process for critical analysis. Once we go on to the online asynchronous part, I am planning to continue with the same exercise, because this is a bit more, say, real world, and this is where they can relate to what's happening outside, or they can actually see the errors that they're making in their reports. And continuing with the same exercise, they tend to reduce the repetition of the same errors, and then try and form a bit more formative emails. So similar process will be followed when we go online asynchronous. The reflective pieces would be done online, and then they have to post their answers or their views on a discussion forum or a chat. And similar thing for critical analysis. For content delivery for synchronous in person, we use lectures at PowerPoint. So we have the screen and we'll show up the PowerPoints and then deliver in those PowerPoints. The PowerPoints is basically either my content that I'll be teaching in the class, or the worksheets that they can just see from the screen and just work on their own, and then share the answers with the class. Similar process is followed on the online asynchronous. Zoom, I'll be sharing the lecture PowerPoint. This is I'll be doing, and similarly, they can take notes outside. The copies of both the presentations is shared with them afterwards. And if we are going online asynchronous, a recorded version of the same lectures will be uploaded, which they can review at any time they feel like. Out of this whole activity, the most engaging activity or the feedback that I've received is when we do role playing. So either they become, either they play themselves and then they have to respond to their managers or to the clients or to subordinates. And it's a hypothetical scenario, and then they have to reply to that. Or they become the managers, clients, or subordinates, and they have to respond back to an email that they have received with some context in mind. So in either case, I am either the one who's getting a feedback on my email or a reply on my email from them, or they're actioning me to do something. So it's a very engaging activity, and it doesn't take that long, but it builds a lot of confidence for them that if they can take part in this unknown scenario, it would be easier for them to take part in a real world scenario. So next here are some examples of the task that I have done in my class. So on the top left corner, the email starts with "Dear Mrs. Smith." So that's an exercise that we have done collectively. So you can see there are a few phases that have been bolded or highlighted. So these are the words that have similar meanings, and the non-native English speakers, they generally tend to get confused between these words. So words like advice, promised and given, or soon, planning and hopeful, you know, in their head, either of them could be applicable in this scenario, but which is the right one and why it is the right one, that's how we go ahead and we discuss this exercise. The one on the bottom left corner, which says scenario 1 and scenario 2, this is the role playing part. So I can read out one scenario for you. So scenario 1 says you are part of the corporate communication team in your company. The working time period is to be revised at 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you need to email the employees in your company informing them the same. So that's the scenario. And then they are role playing as an HR person, and I am one of the employees, and they have to create an email. And then there's some guidelines that they can use. It says you must use the bill of phrases. So it's been changed by 30 minutes, effect next week, so and so on. So this is something that they have to incorporate in the email, but again, making sense out of these phases, that's a task for them. The one on the right, it says these are the sentences written in active and passive voice. So these are our in-lecture exercises or the worksheets that I was talking about previously. So how it goes that these are the questions that they can see on the screen or on the presenter. And for the first one, they have to identify whether it's an active voice or a passive voice. And this is also done in breakout rooms, so they can form their groups and they can discuss why they think it is active or passive. And the following question is to rewrite the sentences into passive voice. So that's also could be done as a group activity. So this is decided really on the spot. If there's a big group and we can divide into breakout rooms, it will take that approach. Otherwise, it's by themselves. So I'll give them like 10 minutes and then they'll resolve these and we'll get back and discuss as a group. So that's it, I think. Yeah. But I feel that the course throughout has been a really great learning experience for me, because I had no idea that there's something called blended learning where we could have done it in asynchronously in person. That was never an idea, but this has opened many routes for me to explore. So thank you so much, Ms. Poonam. I'm really looking forward to the next one. If there's any other session that I can join, I would be happy to join. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanvi, for sharing all your ideas. It's a great initiative. If you can do this, I'm sure you can do many more such courses. And please be ahead of what you are thinking and keep it up. I'm sure you will definitely do it much, much better. So thank you so much. Let's go on to the next. Is Mufid there? I don't think so. He has turned up. Anyway, next is Geeta. Geeta, are you ready? Is Geeta there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there.
I think I can see her. She was there. Geeta?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yeah,
You can
yes, ma'am.
introduce yourself and start sharing.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Well, hello, everyone, all the esteemed participants. It's been wonderful listening to you all and the way you people are going to utilize the guidelines given in this program for your own benefits, for the research programs, and for various other things. It's been really a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. I, on my part, I am Geeta Malhotra, and I am a primary school teacher in Chandigarh, which is a beautiful city in India. Well, I actually came across this program on designing an adaptable course through Facebook. And I found the concept of adaptable design very interesting and innovative. And I'm sure it'll go a long way in improving my teaching skills. Since I deal with the primary children, I really need to learn a lot of tools to be able to engage them in my lessons. The topic which I have taken today, this is how this is what my learnings from this course are going to, this is how they're going to help me. The topic which I'm going to take with my tiny tots would be teaching them the concept of nouns, especially the grade 3 students. The learning objectives which I feel I would be able to achieve would be, they would be able to identify different objects and understand them as nouns, not only as objects, but as nouns. They will also be able to apply this understanding in enhancing their grammar skills. Later on, as they grow up, they would definitely be able to use them. The teaching aids which I plan to use for offline classes would be maybe a smart board or a green board, and the real objects which are actually found in their surroundings. I can also use my flashcards to depict different objects. So in a regular class, the learners, that's how I begin my lesson, dear guests. In a regular class, the learners are asked to name a couple of objects in their surroundings, which they would be able to identify as nouns. Then we make a list of these objects on the smart board. The educator after this engages them by dividing the class into smaller groups of 4 to 5 learners each. And each group is given a simple task to perform in a stipulated time. Let's say, for example, group 1 can be asked to write 5 nouns beginning with the first alphabet of their name. And I know children really love to do these things. This really enhances their thinking skills. The second group can be given an activity where one of the learners floats a word in the group. The others continue with the word building game. They pick up the last alphabet of the previous word and continue the word building game, keeping the nouns in mind. Another group can be given some other activity which is based on the concept of think, pair, and share. The students or the learners, as we call them, they can be given a clue or maybe various clues about any place, any country, and then they have to describe that place making use of clues as nouns. Similarly, in an online class, which can be conducted in MS Teams or maybe even Google Meet, the learners can be shown a collection of different objects. Then to test their memory or to enhance their memory skills, they are asked to write as many as they can recollect. Not only this, but a small online quiz with clues will also help them to identify various common nouns. For the evaluation of these little ones, we can have worksheets, we can have pen and paper tests, short MCQs, which they love to attempt. And in the online evaluations, we can have worksheets, Google Forms, and one more creative activity which the children love to do would be that they can create any particular noun using different craft materials. They love to watch cartoons. They use different craft materials to create their cartoon characters, their favorite food items, their favorite persons, any item of utility in their daily day-to-day use. So anything they do. And they can be asked to upload these images, maybe in Google Classroom, maybe on any other platform. So that's all on my side. This is how this course definitely would help me to come out as a better teacher. And let me tell you, the best takeaway of the course has been Poonam ma'am's excellent way of guiding us to design courses in such a methodical way that this blending learning would really become an excellent tool to teach the students in a current scenario. Thank you so much, Poonam ma'am. I would be looking forward to such more courses in near future. I would definitely be a part of all your future courses. Thank you so much, Poonam ma'am, for guiding.
Thank you, Geeta. Thank you so much for sharing your class discussions with the little ones. It's wonderful to know the way they are grouped and the way they go on with the activities. Definitely, whenever any new course is being designed, you will definitely be a part of it. So congratulations to you for completing your course design. And thank you so much once again. The next one is Garima. Garima, you ready? Are you there? Garima?
Yes. Hello. Hi. I'm there.
Yeah. Please introduce yourself and start presenting.
All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you can see my screen. And my name is Garima Seth, and I am a school counselor in Cambridge School, Noida. I am a counselor for classes 6 to 12. But during the pandemic, because when all the classes went online, some of the students approached me to learn more about psychology as a subject, which is offered in classes 11th and 12th. So that is when I started tutoring them for the psychology course. And I came across this course on LinkedIn, and I have been very interested in knowing more about teaching, because that is somewhere where I feel I can eventually go. So let's get into the presentation now. All right, so I have taken the first topic, which is chapter number 1, which is on intelligence. So in class 11th, that is the first chapter, and the objectives of this course, objective of this chapter were that the students will understand what is intelligence and the different theories of intelligence as it's been given by prominent psychologists. And the students will learn about different methods that are used to assess intelligence, the concept intelligence. Moreover, after the course, they will be able to explain what constitutes as an intelligent behavior and understand how intelligence has a different meaning in different cultures. Moreover, understand the difference between different concepts, which are aptitude and intelligence. So these are some of the learning objectives which we'll be focusing on. So the teaching pedagogies or the teaching aids that I will be using, because psychology is a subject which is, it's a very subjective field. So initiating a discussion on concepts is something that I would like to start with when I'm teaching them. So talking about intelligence, talking about different psychological attributes like aptitude, personality is something that I would be focusing quite a lot on. And then obviously giving real life examples, such as drawing from students' experiences to introduce these concepts so that they're able to relate these concepts to their real life experiences. And apart from discussion and drawing from real life experiences, intelligence is a concept that, there are lots of experiments which have been already done. So it's already a very, research course. So also giving them the sample of the intelligence tests that have already been devised by the psychologists. So some of them which are readily available, I will be administering them on the students. And in case the course, again, in case the classes have started offline, but if the classes go online again, these tests are also available online. So the links are very easily providable. So that makes it, easy to function on an online setup as well. To teach these courses further, I would like to also introduce some activities. So some of the activities that I am thinking of that I can, make the students be aware of 5 job profiles, and they can gather information on what kind of intelligence or what kind of skills are required for this kind of work, and they can also write a report. So writing an essay is another teaching aid that I would like to introduce. And case studies, because case studies really help in understanding in depth about a teaching course that I'm teaching. Along with that, if the course is again online, then visual aids to understand the theory. So our courses happen a lot on MS Teams. So online, in an online setup, that is where we will be focusing on, and it is very easy to share visual aids when you're teaching online. So we can share, I would be interested in sharing PPTs and videos, and sharing some TEDx talks that I have also seen. So one thing that I really liked about the course when I was studying from Poonam ma'am is, keeping the assessment in mind when you're designing the course. So the formative assessment that I will be focusing on are activities, as I feel that activities is, they really help the student understand quite well. So some of the activities that I was able to think of for this presentation were that, for example, think of the most intelligent person in your class and write his or her attributes. And once they are able to list these attributes, then, we will gradually compare it with, we will gradually make a definition out of it. And, that will really help the students define the concept intelligence. And then we can compare it with the definition that has already been given. So that really helps the students in understanding. Apart from that, how I will like to assess them is also writing a report. As mentioned before, I can give them projects, I can give them writing reports, and some of the activities that we can do will include report writing. Apart from that, I feel the students really learn really well when they are, studying with their partners, with another student. So dividing them into smaller groups, it will also be easier to do that in online setup, because there's something called as a breakout rooms. Dividing the students to learn more would be, I feel, a very effective technique. Then formative assessments will definitely include MCQs, quizzes, general tests. And another thing that I feel that really works when you're teaching a subject which is so subjective is making a glossary of the key items, so that they can refer to it again and again, and it's easier to go back to the main concepts. So that is going to be the formative assessment. And the summative assessment will focus on writing a summary or an essay of the entire course that they have studied, which will be graded, which will be marked. And this can also be done during the final term assessments. So along with that, some of the theories that that are there in the chapter also will be easy to understand if they are presented visually. So presentation is something that I'm also thinking of including in my summative assessments. So that is what I feel, I can do this. I am actually a very new tutor to the entire, teaching field. This is something that is very new to me, and the classes will begin from July onwards. So I feel that I feel it's quite an apt time that I did this course on. So thank you so much, Poonam ma'am, for bringing this course at the right time, and especially for a very, very new tutor like me. I'm yet to learn a lot of pedagogies. I'm yet to learn a lot of ways of assessing. So for me, this was very helpful in at least giving me that head start to a course. So I would really like to thank you, and I think I find this course really very helpful, especially the the backward designing. That's why even in my assessments, even in my presentation, sorry, I focused a lot on assessments. So thank you so much for teaching this, and I have learned quite a lot from you, and I really hope that I continue to learn more, and I hope you are doing more and more courses on these, especially for people like me who are very, very new to this field. So thank you for having me, and thank you for this course and the course that you designed. It was very helpful.
Thank you, Garima, for incorporating so many ideas that you learned in this course. It was good. I really enjoyed your way of explaining the things and the way you have incorporated these ideas in your course design. And I'm sure that in future also you are going to learn a lot. And whatever time is, whatever age is, we keep learning. So keep it in mind. I have learned a lot from you, and we all will keep learning from each other. So keep it up. Thank you
so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think next is Abhinav. Abhinav has been very, very busy, but he has very kindly sent his recorded presentation. So let's listen to him, what he has to say. Let me just start the, yeah, here he is.
Hello everyone, my name is Abhinav and I'm a technology leader for a major international organization here in Australia. So as a technology leader, I was required to create a course to train the new managers on how to better engage with their teams. So I came across this course on LinkedIn from Poonam Vora, and it really helped me and gave me some amazing concepts and ideas for better engagement. So the problem statement in hand for me was that over the past 2 years, the iteration rate of the employee has skyrocketed. And when we dig into it, we found out that one of the key reasons was the low engagement with the managers, because they're working in a virtual environment, the people-to-people interaction is missing, and that empathy factor, the EQ was missing. So, so the career coaches were, though they were having one-on-one meetings, but they were not very effective, and the people were feeling left out in the organization. So this training course focuses on 3 critical elements to turn a corner in the coaching journey to create a more inclusive environment and more empathetic environment. So I did this course to understand this more, the empathy factor. So the first element I would want to talk about the engagement. So the regular virtual check-ins and active listening and engagement. So I realized that because we are working in the virtual world, so once we are done with the meetings, that the empathy and the personal touch was missing. So it was required to have more virtual check-ins and more on a personal level rather than just on a professional level, and allow the team members to actually bring their whole self, check about their environment, and everybody's working in this COVID era, which makes the world more difficult to work in. So it requires more empathy and more engagement. And once people are engaged and they're listening to you, and you build that relationship with them, I think that's where you have to onboard them and have a fully committed to invest in their growth. So you need to present yourself in a way that you are completely involved and engaged, and you're listening, and you are actually involved in their personal growth. That's very important. So onboarding was like a bigger part of it, and not just talking to the person and you just get the anonymous feedback about their work, and can build as a team. And the engagement was not on the personal level but on the team level as well. So understand from other members of the team how they're feeling about an individual and how they can actually help each other to progress further in their career. And I think the third most important thing was to have this 360-degree coaching, which means it's not just you are guiding and mentoring your own employees. You get the 360-degree feedback from them as well, so that you can improve as a leader. In today's world, you have to be more of a servant leader rather than the traditional leader, which means you need to help to unblock the issues and impediments, and to make them succeed as an individual, and that actually helps the team to succeed even further. And the most important thing is to build a trusted relationship, not just with your team member, but as a person to coach and mentor with the team members. So, and at the end of this 4 weeks course, I think I understood myself as a leader better, and I've got more tools in my kitty to actually engage people better and have a better working environment in my team. So thanks to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinav, for incorporating the ideas. And I really like this concept of 360-degree assessment. I think the last presentation today is by Paresh. Here also, Paresh has been very busy. But he has sent his presentation. Let's just have a look at it.
So I run webinars for entry-level students in accounting bodies to educate them on fundamental concepts of accounting and finance. I also help non-financial managers to gain some background on financial concepts, only basic but advanced. So I came across this course on LinkedIn that I have been following since week 1. So I intend to take learnings from this course to build my own face-to-face and online course to equip non-financial managers and entry-level students with some financial concepts, introductory financial concepts. To start off with my course is called Finance for Non-Financial Managers. This is the course outline where I break it down between 3 sections. So the section A is called Fundamentals of Accounting and Primary Statements. Section B is the Introduction to Corporate Finance. And section C is Budgeting and Forecasting. These are all primarily introductory concepts that will build some fundamentals for students. I also add in within the course glossary, and that will just give the students some basic definition on financial terms, and strengthen their understanding, but also talk about the concepts within the class. So moving on. So just to give you an outline on how the learning objectives are developed. So section A has various learning objectives for the students. So the introduction to accounting information, and understanding of in-depth of the primary statements, the 3 primary statements, understanding the users of accounting information, external and internal, analyze and understand accounting as a language, value the general purpose of financial statement, understand the importance of accounting principles in understanding financial statements, critique and analyze different financial statements through ratios, analyze and understand statement of financial position, analyze statement of comprehensive income, which is also known as income statement, understand movements within a statement of cash flow. So these are just introductory learning objectives, which really is important if you want to strengthen some financial education and you actually try and grow your career. Moving on. So the guidance given to us in the course, the structure that I wanted us to sort of present in. So if I were to develop this course in face-to-face, the formative assessment for in-person would be a topic quiz. Summative assessment would be a case study through self-assessment. Alternatively, alternative assessment would be a discussion on the case study. The course will be delivered through PowerPoint presentation in the class. The activity to engage students would be discussion on the case study, and then requesting students to apply these concepts within the class on the case study. So when the course is online, the formative assessment would be a live poll after each topic that is explained, followed by an MCQ, a multiple choice question quiz at the end of the course or topic. So summative assessment would be an email course related question. So I would email the questions out for the topic that I've explained at the end of each course to keep the students sort of engaged, and then request their feedback or answers back to the questions that I've requested. So alternatively, the assessments would be live feedback in form of questions using poll activity. Additionally, I would also discuss the current topics or hot topics that are going on and try and engage the students to apply the concepts on the hot topics that are going on. The delivery content would be, of course, live or recorded videos that they can watch alternatively after the live is over. For engagement of the students, I would actually present them with a Google Doc-based case study to apply the concepts. So I'll present a case study in a Google Doc and I'll ask them to sort of apply the concept and provide me answers to sort of which sort of concepts apply in a particular case study. Online asynchronous, for the formative assessment, I would actually survey the students at the end of each topic. So in the LMS, I would add in a survey. So as soon as they finish topic, they would actually have to be forced to complete a survey. Summative assessment would be multiple choice question at the end of each topic in the LMS. Alternative assessment would be discussion on the forum within the LMS. The content would be offline again. That's why I got it blank. Engaging activity would be, I'll try and forward them within the course topics. So that's about it from my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paresh. You have very well incorporated the ideas, and obviously every day is a learning experience, and we keep improving upon whatever we learn, at whatever age we learn. I think with this, the presentations come to an end. Anyone has anything to say? You're most welcome. Please unmute yourself and you can give your comments, or you can say whatever you have to say.
Okay, if I could go first, I just wanted to mention that I created a feedback form for the students, right? As you said in your handouts, right?
Right.
Yes, I've shared that, but I didn't include it in the presentation. But I
That's-
think it's very important that
It's very
we do
important.
that.
True. It's very important. Yeah. Okay. So we can always have that feedback. There's no issue at all. I'm also planning to have a feedback. You will all get through mail, and please give me your feedback. Thank you, Sita. Anyone else who would like to say something? Dr. Sharma? Subaji?
No, it is, thank you. It's okay from my side.
Subaji?
Congratulations to everyone who have completed their course.
Yeah. Yes, Tanvi? Please unmute yourself. I can see. Okay. Subaji, anything you would like to share? Okay, so I think there's nothing much to be shared by anyone. So with this, the presentation comes to an end, and I'm really thankful to each one of you, those who have attended the course, and all those who have incorporated the ideas, and all those who have completed their course design. And I'm hopeful that all those who have not done it will definitely complete their course and will present it. Maybe next time we may have another course, and we can keep meeting and keep sharing and keep collaborating on various aspects. So thank you so much once again, each one of you.
Thank you. It was an interesting experience. I
Same
enjoyed
here.
every minute of it. And thank you for the resources and the guidance in your handouts. And it was really helpful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Okay, bye. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for your good presentations.